Every once in a while, a show comes along that you just weren't prepared for, that you couldn't handle, that was so beyond what you expected, so transcendental in its execution, you thought nothing could top it. You'd heard about it beforehand, about how brilliant and insane it was, about how you really just had to go along for the ride if you wanted to enjoy it, and not think about anything too much. Yeah, it was stupid, but it needed to be. That was its raison d'etre. It doesn't take itself seriously, but the lack of seriousness gives it an almost perplexing, visceral engagement, like watching two burly men knife fight in a bouncy castle, and it was all the better for it. And you end up thinking it's one of the best things you've ever seen, because at the end of the day, the hype was just too powerful. The show finds its brilliance the same way the characters do. They just don't stop doing ridiculous, insane things, and suddenly everything just works. The lack of rules in the show's continuity, the thing that should be the death knell of investment, is ultimately what ties it together so tightly that it's practically sadomasochism.
Yeah, I think Gurren Lagann's pretty good.
How hilarious then that ex-Gainax employees, Gainax being the studio that created Gurren Lagann, should form together to create several more shows in the same vein, like Kill La Kill and a few other shows like Little Witch Academia, and also a light novel anime de jour Inobato, and perhaps most fascinatingly of them all, Inferno Cop and Ninja Slayer 2, but less fascinating now that we've seen it before. Some parts are alright though, they're not bad, Oh my. The show was directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, who was a key animator on Neon Genesis Evangelion. He was the series director for Gurren Lagann, the animation director for Fooly Cooly. He directed Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt and Kill La Kill. These are all, at the very least, competent pieces of Eastern mass media. Some of them are even considered absolute classics, and two of them are in many circles considered to be shows approaching the peak of the medium. This is the first action sequence in Gurren Lagann. This is, for all intents and purposes, the first action scene of Inferno Cop. The more astute of you may have noticed that this is a marked departure from his previous works, in the same way that Chinese water torture is a marked departure from an enjoyable, if breezy, afternoon picnic. Now, my original review of Inferno Cop was simply me screaming, "Watch Inferno Cop!" at the microphone, bursting into tears, and then furiously drinking Mountain Dew, followed by 12 minutes of credit. But since I've now found myself reviewing things on the more serious end of the spectrum, well, relatively, they're still about as serious as a knife fight in a bouncy castle where everyone's wearing silly hats, Inferno Cop stands out like a thorn. A very odd, low-budget thorn that is actively on fire. It's not a show one can review seriously. This is why I am now going to attempt to review it seriously. I think Inferno Cop is really the cutting edge of what I like to call ironic enjoyment. Don't get me wrong, I do like the show, but I don't think I could tell you why. Just throw belabored Vegasms at you, like, it's just so beautifully dumb. The animation is like watching paper cutouts glued to a stick being waved about by someone in the midst of an epileptic seizure, and the voice acting is all by this same man, even the female characters, with emotion that's almost passable, despite having a female member of cast on hand. And the same generic bad guy model is used throughout, just wearing different clothes, taking the role of a surgeon to a zombie to a judge to a damsel in distress to God himself. The soundtrack is primarily sung and maligned in addition to mispronounced German, including the OP and ED. The show spends so little time on its subjects that it's almost impossible to quite take in what exactly is happening. Inferno Cop's motivations change with the minute. The only overarching thread is dropped in episode 3 and picked up again in episode 11, leaving 8 episodes with absolutely no direction whatsoever. Characters are killed in the same episode they're introduced, and seeing as each episode is a little bit over 2 to 3 minutes long, which might be the most amazing thing about it, it means they get 1 or 2 lines before being eradicated. The ones who aren't are as deep and intellectual as World War I propaganda posters. This should not be a good show, just empirically. Looking at the list on paper, this show looks and sounds like it was put together by a 5-year-old. Yes, comparisons to Aaox Cop are apt, only this time there is no excuse for it being actually written by a 5-year-old, and I might call Inferno Cop the less sensible of the two, which at this point is like saying that being fatally mauled by a bear is slightly less fatal than being fatally savaged by a cougar, and oddly, I kind of think it's brilliant, constrained or perhaps augmented by how nonsensical and irredeemably stupid it is, like Einstein and Tesla savaging each other with knives in a bouncy castle. But you must understand, this is not an accident. Trigger intentionally set out to make the show as stupid as possible. They have a female in the room. You can hear her at the end of a few episodes in the background as the male staff try to coax her into reading the next episode's title. They could have put a bit more effort into the animation, as they've done with Ninja Slayer. Indeed, it's hard to believe they could put any less effort into the animation. This is not people making something stupid accidentally or without care. This is people taking great pains to create something extraordinary with the express intent of doing it as badly as physically possible. My favourite exchange is with Inferno Cop's sidekick, Hellfire Boy. In fact, I think episode 8 is probably my favourite episode, and the fact that I can say that I have a favourite episode of Inferno Cop, the fact that I can show this series to a friend, sit down and watch it in less time than watching one episode of any other given series, and then rant about how amazing it was, has to mean there's something there beyond pure idiocy. Inferno Cop is, I think, something everyone should watch, and I, speaking for myself, do not see how some people could fail to enjoy it. But at the same time, I completely understand why people would hate it. It is weaponized, concentrated, stupid, but somehow it's so asinine that it ticks back over into brilliance. I'm not saying step over Cowboy Bebop, anime's found its Citizen Kane, because that's the talk of a man gone mad. It's not as good as the greats. Hell, it's not really even as good as the more mediocre shows. It may, in fact, be the worst thing Trigger's ever made, and that's why I think it's one of the greatest things Trigger's ever made. You might be thinking at this point, Aaox, you're not making any sense. I can't follow you. You're saying one thing and then saying another completely contradictory thing, and I can't tell if I'm supposed to be taking you seriously or if you're just trying to mimic the show you so effervescently enjoy. Well, dear friend, I must say your rather astutely on-point observation has rather sucked the fun out of this paragraph, because yes, that is entirely the point. Inferno Cop is a stupid, bad show, and because of that, it's absolutely hilarious. It's terribly animated, so the animation has become fantastic. The horrible voice acting makes it even better, and the complete lack of a through line makes the plot all the more enjoyable. Everything that should work against it somehow ends up making it amazing, but in a really, really stupid way. But don't take my word for it. Rather, word, when it comes to Inferno Cop, has about as much use as shooting spitballs at a tank. Inferno Cop is on YouTube, subbed by Trigger, and one can watch it whenever they please, so I'll just link the episodes at the end of the video and you can go and see it for yourself. It'll take half an hour out of your day, and regardless of if you like it or not, it'll leave a hell of an impression. I know I said this review would be a walk in the park in that update video last week, but during the process of writing it, I found out this was actually really rather difficult indeed. The trick to enjoying Inferno Cop, I think, lies with your ability to just accept it for what it is. It is a slipshod, thrown together mess of a show, but there is beauty in its travesty and genuine delight from its almost intoxicating stupidity. Some will love it for its faults, others will hate it for them. Are they wrong? No. Are they right? No. But one thing is for sure. They watched Inferno Cop, and at the end of the day, beautifully dumb might be the best way I could possibly think to describe it. Transcendental. Singing? Have I done singing? I do some singing to prepare the voice, but I feel like I've been talking to you, so my vocal cords are warmed up, because I sing to I mean, it's usually the do, re, mi, fa, so. This is not making people shit. This should not be a good show, just empirically. That's wrong. That's the wrong paragraph. Good start, but you have to understand. But you must understand, this is not an accident. Trigger intentionally set out to make the show shit. These are all, at the very least, competent pieces. Rather sucked the fun out of this last one. Well, dear friend, I must say you are... you heard about it. Don't go off iPad. So transcendental in its execution. You thought that's... Damn it! That will not help. This is, for all intents and purposes, the first in action. Two of them are in many circles considered to be the shows. The show was directed by Hiroyuki Ame. Oh god, kind of that's my altered. Do re mi fa sol la ti 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 do. That's we have fun. I'll keep that and I'll put that in at the end of the video.